The Warrior series of lessons that we've been doing so far have been introductory, giving you some introductory concepts for what it means to live your life as a warrior. The next series of lessons that we're going to go into core tenets that make up the material. So these core tenets are primary ways that you behave or principles that you live by. They help guide your behavior. The ones that we're going to go over in this next series are defining the mental training goal, understanding mental power, examining your inner and outer realities, the unmoved mind of awareness, the flexible, agile mind of attention, intuition, shifting perception, motivation, the climbing metaphor, importance of taking risks, shifts that occur during the learning process, the value of fighting in collaborative ways, the value of experience in knowing something. In this first lesson, we're going to go over defining a mental training goal. It's a core tenet because it gives you a direction for your behavior. Without a direction, you'll end up nowhere meaningful. What's more important, goals or learning? Well, if you've been watching these lessons, you know that I'm setting you up for confusion here. It's not an either or kind of question. We need to look at this through a both and lens. So both are valuable. It's important to have goals, and it's also important to value the learning process. So goals are important because they let you know where you're going. You go to a particular climb and you know where you're going because you picked that climb and the goal is to get to the top. So you know the direction you're going. You get into your car, you put in your Google Maps, you know where you're going because you put in the destination. So goals are important. But it's also important to value the learning process. When you're focusing on learning, then you gradually work toward mastering a certain activity. And you focus on learning for its own sake. So you can really be focused on what you're perceiving as you're going through that activity. So you can balance goals and learning by knowing when you need to focus on each. You focus on goals before and after action, and you focus on learning during action. Goals are important because they give you inspiration. You want to do something that inspires you, I'm sure. They give you a vision for your life. They give you a direction for your life or for your climbing. That gives you a destination. And then from that destination, you can make course corrections as you're getting off track, as you're getting straying away from where you want to go. So goals are important for this reason. The structural tension occurs because there's a difference between where you currently are, your current ability, and where you want to be, the ability you want to achieve. And here's where the path of least resistance comes into play. The path of least resistance gets a lot of negative press, you might say. When you say you're following the path of least resistance, people think that you're being lazy. But really, you're being wise because you really don't want to do anything that requires more effort and energy than is necessary. So the path of least resistance is wise. It's not foolish. When you have clear goals and you know your current circumstances, then you can celebrate following the path of least resistance. You're not cheating. You're not being lazy. You're giving direction to your natural comfort-seeking motivation. What's more important, being mentally tough or mentally flexible? Well, again, you probably are perceiving that I'm asking the wrong question. It's not an either-or choice. In other words, could mental toughness be appropriate sometimes and mental flexibility at other times? And of course, the answer is yes. Both are important. and they're associated with goals and learning. You value mental toughness when you're pursuing goals that are important to you. Remember, we said it gives you a direction. When you define goals that are inspiring, that are important to you, then you want to be mentally tough as you move in that direction, because that creates experiences, it creates more of a meaningful life that matters to you. So you're being mentally tough when you're focused on the goal. And this is before or after action, because that helps you make course corrections. But now during action, you're focused on learning. This is where you need to be mentally flexible. This is during action, during the stress. So you can see how both of these are important, but at different times. Our mental training goal is attention focused in the moment on the chosen task. So having that goal gives you a direction so you can make course corrections along the way, and you get closer and closer to achieving that goal. Can you achieve your mental training goal? Well, I just said that you can achieve it. Now, you may think that you are able to achieve it, like you may perceive that you could focus your attention 100% on the task and not be distracted. So what's really happening is you're just unaware at that subtle level of attention being distracted. Now, there are some goals that are tangible and that you can achieve, obviously. There's like climbing goals. You can want to buy a house. You can achieve that goal. You want to get a university degree. You can work toward achieving that goal. But other goals you can never achieve. If you think about self-actualization, you can always actualize more of your potential. Or you think of transcendence, like that's transcending beyond your individual understanding of yourself in the world. That's something that you can always become more aware of. Just like our mental training goal, you never completely arrive there. You think of climbing mastery, like mastering the activity, the art of climbing. That's something you can always get better at. And this mental training goal, even though you can't achieve it, it gives you a direction for your efforts. It creates a structural tension between not having your attention focused and having your attention focused. This gives you tangible experiences so you can make course corrections. You're constantly noticing and redirecting your attention in the direction of your goal. At the beginning of this series, I introduced the goal of becoming an impeccable warrior. Well, impeccable means impeccable in the use of your attention. So you can see how this goal of being an impeccable warrior is aligned with our mental training goal of having our attention focused in the moment on the chosen task. The more we can improve our ability to keep our focus in the moment, the more impeccable we are in the use of our attention. But you're never going to be 100% impeccable. You're never going to have your attention focused 100% in the moment. But this isn't a failure. It's really a realignment in how you're thinking about it. You're on a never-ending journey of self-discovery, of mastery. What's important here is noticing when you stray off the direction that's taking you toward your goal, that noticing ability. You recall this is the warrior master skill that I've been introducing in all of these lessons. So it's a process of noticing and redirecting over and over again. Here you can really see why it's important to value the learning process, because you want to be in the middle of the stress of noticing, redirecting, of experiencing these failures, so to speak, when in reality it's not a failure at all. It's an awareness of straying off your path and then getting back on your path. So really what you want to do is you just want to accept that this is what's going to go on. You're going to get distracted, and then relax into that reality, and then enjoy the process. And then to enjoy it, seek the path of least resistance as you're working your way through the stress to your goal. Knowing that you will never achieve the goal is really a benefit. It keeps you from fixating on the goal. and rather lets you fixate on the learning process itself, on what's taking you in the direction of that goal. And that, what is it? It's that warrior master skill. And that is something that you can control. Important to focus on what you can control. If you don't have a goal, you won't end up anywhere meaningful. So you don't want to do that. Rather, define the goal and define your current circumstances, and then focus on the path of least resistance to close the gap. The path of least resistance is not lazy, it's being wise. So here's the drill. Define the goal. Where do you want to arrive? Know where you're going by setting tangible goals. Define where you currently are. What is your current position in relation to that goal? Close the gap. What do you need to do to close the gap between where you are and your goal? Create a plan that defines small steps that take you there. Then focus on polar, path of least resistance, reminding yourself of your goal as needed so you can make course corrections. Knowing your goal and your current circumstances helps you create a plan that moves you in the direction of your goal so you can take small steps following the path of least resistance to it. You'll close the gap, achieve the goal, and get step by step closer to mastering that activity that's important to you.